Hi, everyone, and welcome to SHRM Study Sessions, the podcast where we talk all things HR, professional growth, and of course, SHRM certifications. If you're a creative professional wondering if there's a place for you in HR, or you're curious about how your skills might translate to the HR world, you're in for a treat. My guest today is Taylor, a marketing and communications professional with over a decade of experience, who has recently made the bold leap into HR. Taylor is in the process of preparing for the SHRM-CP exam and is here to share her journey, insights, and how she's leveraging her creative background to make a splash in her new career. Taylor, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Shirley. I'm so excited to be here and share my story with your audience.
We're thrilled to have you. Let's start by learning a little about your background. Can you tell us about your career in marketing and communications and what led you to pivot into HR?
Absolutely. I've spent the last 12 years in marketing, focusing on brand strategy, content creation, and internal communications. I've always loved storytelling and finding ways to connect with people, whether through a campaign or an internal initiative. What led me to HR was a project I worked on about 2 years ago. My company was rebranding, and I was heavily involved in the internal communications piece, making sure employees felt informed, engaged, and excited. I realized how much I enjoyed working on employee engagement and culture building. That project opened my eyes to how impactful HR can be, and I started exploring the field more seriously.
It's amazing how one project can spark a whole new career path. So, what drew you specifically to the SHRM-CP certification as part of your transition?
For me, it was about building credibility and understanding the core competencies of HR. Coming from a creative background, I wanted to make sure I had a solid foundation in things like compliance, workforce planning, and talent acquisition, areas I didn't have direct experience with. The SHRM-CP felt like a comprehensive way to bridge that gap and show potential employers that I'm serious about this pivot.
That's such a smart move. Where are you in your certification journey right now?
I'm about 3 months into studying, and I've got another 2 months before my exam date. I've been using the learning system, and I'm currently working through the second competency, which is all about talent acquisition.
That's great progress. How are you balancing studying with adjusting to this new career path?
It's definitely a juggling act. I'm currently freelancing in marketing while transitioning into HR, so my schedule is flexible, but it's still a lot to manage. I've created a weekly study plan where I dedicate mornings to studying and afternoons to client work. What's helped me the most is setting small, achievable goals, like focusing on one module per week, and rewarding myself when I hit those milestones.
That's such a good strategy. Let's talk about your creative background. How do you think your marketing and communication skills are helping you in HR?
Oh, there are so many overlaps. For example, in marketing, you're always thinking about your audience and how to communicate effectively with them. In HR, it's the same principle. You're just applying it to employees instead of customers. Another big one is storytelling. Whether it's crafting an employer brand, writing a job posting, or creating training materials, storytelling plays a huge role in HR. And of course, project management is a big part of both fields.
Absolutely. Those are such transferable skills. What's been the most challenging part of the transition so far?
I think the biggest challenge has been shifting my mindset. In marketing, you're often focused on external audiences, and success is measured by things like sales or engagement metrics. In HR, it's more about internal audiences and creating a positive workplace culture, which can be harder to quantify. Another challenge has been learning the legal and compliance side of HR. It's a whole new language for me, but I'm getting there.
That's a common hurdle for many new HR professionals, but it sounds like you're tackling it head-on. What's been the most rewarding part of this journey so far?
Honestly, it's been seeing how much my work can impact people's day-to-day experiences. In marketing, you might create a campaign that resonates with an audience, but in HR, You have the opportunity to directly improve someone's job satisfaction, career growth, or even work-life balance. It's incredibly fulfilling to know that the work I'm doing now can make a tangible difference in people's lives.
That's so inspiring. Let's talk about your study process. Do you have any tips or resources that have been particularly helpful as you prepare?
Yes. First, I highly recommend the learning system. It's been a great resource for breaking down complex topics into manageable chunks. Second, I joined a virtual study group through LinkedIn. It's been amazing to connect with other people preparing for the exam, share tips, and hold each other accountable. Lastly, I've been using storytelling techniques to memorize key concepts. For example, I'll create a little narrative around a compliance scenario or a talent acquisition strategy. It helps the information stick.
I love that. Using storytelling to study is such a creative approach. Before we wrap up, what advice would you give to other creative professionals considering a career pivot into HR?
My advice would be to trust that your skills are valuable and transferable. Creativity, communication, and empathy are all critical in HR, and your unique perspective can set you apart. Also, don't be afraid to start small. Volunteer for HR-related projects at your current job, or take an online course to build your confidence and network. Finally, be patient with yourself. Transitioning careers is a process, and it's okay to take it one step at a time.
That's such great advice, Taylor. Thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your journey. I know your story will resonate with so many of our listeners.
Thank you, Shirley. It's been such a pleasure to share my story, and I hope it inspires others to follow their passion for HR.
To all our listeners, if you're a creative professional considering a career pivot into HR, remember that your skills and perspective are assets. The journey might feel daunting at times, but it's also an exciting opportunity to grow and make an impact. That's all for today's episode. If you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep believing in yourself. Thanks for tuning in.